Welcome to the third largest city in Spain, Valencia. This coastal city is the birthplace of paella,
Has some of the most unique architecture dedicated to arts and sciences,
and is a place where this Dutch guy decided to leave the Netherlands for and call home.
Hi, ik ben Tristan.
My videos often show what's life like in the Netherlands as a foreigner, but today is the reverse, because I'll be spending the day with Tristan to understand what's life like for a Dutch person living abroad. And of course, I'll ask the question that you're all dying to know.
Do you miss the Netherlands? So last year I came to Valencia for the first time for a vacation, and while I was out here in Valencia, I came across a really cool event on Airbnb, a wine tasting event. And besides the event being really cool, what really stood out to me was that the host was Dutch, and that host, of course, being who we have here, Tristan. And so, Tristan, first, let's just start off. Where are you from?
So I'm from the Netherlands, I'm from Amsterdam.
Okay.
I lived most of my life in Amsterdam, 4 years in Haarlem, 1 year in Utrecht.
Okay. Nice. Okay, and so I'm just curious, did you always imagine that you would leave the Netherlands? Is this something you already had planned for a while, or like how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I always had the urge to move abroad, and I did it for the first time when I was 23, about 6 years ago. I moved to Barcelona for half a year. I did an internship. I worked at a 3 Michelin star restaurant as a sommelier. And afterwards, I really wanted to work outside of Europe.
Yeah.
So I moved to Australia. I lived half a year in Sydney. Left a little earlier than I wanted to because of COVID. So with COVID, I came back to the Netherlands. So I worked for half a year in the Netherlands again, restaurants, but also I taught for a while about wine.
Yeah.
And then everything reclosed, schools too. So I wasn't allowed to teach anymore.
Yeah.
And at that point, I realized I just wanted to get out of the Netherlands, definitely for better weather. And that's sort of when I came here.
Now that I got Tristan's backstory on moving to Valencia, it was time to learn about his experience adapting to life in Spain.
Well, with you being Dutch, of course we gotta do part of this interview in Dutch. Dus nu gaan we even Nederlands praten. Dus iets dat ik ben benieuwd over is, jij komt uit Nederland, een land die bekend staat om...
Bekend staat om.
Ja. Een land die bekend staat om, weet je, regels, structuur, punctualiteit, etc. En nu woon jij in Spanje.
Ja.
En van wat ik weet, een land die is een beetje bekend staat om siesta, rustig doen, weet je, etc. Dus eerst ik wil je vragen, klopt de stereotype of klopt het niet? En als het klopt wel, was het moeilijk om jezelf aan te passen met de cultuur en alles hier in Spanje?
Nee, het klopt absoluut. Natuurlijk, Spanje is veel relaxter. Dus dat is, aan de ene kant ben ik altijd wel heel relaxed geweest. Dus ik stoor me niet echt aan. Soms met business gerelateerde dingen kan het wel eens lastig zijn.
Ja.
Er zijn hier heel veel feestdagen, is alles dicht en dan kan je dus ook echt niks geregeld krijgen. Ja. Maar ook gewoon je maakt afspraken met sommige mensen en dan last minute cancelen zo. Of het is allemaal gewoon, daar moet je een beetje rekening mee houden. Maar uiteindelijk is qua levensstijl vind ik het veel relaxter. En het is ook wat spontaner, denk ik.
Ja.
Er zijn veel meer mensen die gewoon, hey, wat doe je vandaag? Ja, ik weet niet, ik heb eigenlijk nog geen plannen. Zullen we wat leuks doen? Weet je.
Ja, dat gebeurt helemaal niet in Nederland.
Nee, precies. In Nederland is het zo van, ik heb zaterdag, zondag vrij. En zaterdag ga ik altijd doen. Ja. We moeten maar eens kijken volgende maand of we iets kunnen inplannen. En dan, daar ben ik eigenlijk helemaal niet van. Ik ben helemaal niet van het plannen eigenlijk.
Dus bijvoorbeeld, als jij terug naar Nederland gaat op bezoek of zo, ja, hoe voelt dat? Voelt het vreemd om terug in Nederland te zijn? Voel je nog thuis? Of hoe is dat precies?
Het ding is vooral, als ik dan naar Nederland ga, dan ga ik mijn vrienden en mijn familie opzoeken. Ja. En dan plan ik natuurlijk allemaal dingen. Weet je, dan ben ik een week daar en dan elke avond ga ik wat leuks doen met een andere vriend of vriendin of met mijn familie. Ja. Maar wat ik vooral dan heb door de week, overdag, iedereen moet gewoon werken en heeft zijn ding te doen. En dan voel ik me toch altijd een beetje van ja, precies. Dan heb ik niet zoveel te doen. Ja, dus ik weet niet. Ik vind het altijd wel fijn om even naar Nederland te gaan, maar dan doe ik 3-4 dagen. Gewoon even snel iedereen zien en dan ga ik weer terug hierheen. En dat is perfect eigenlijk.
Now, it was clear to see that Tristan felt quite at home in Spain and that his vibe and lifestyle aligned nicely with Spanish culture. But it was time to really test his Spanish integration.
We hebben een beetje Nederlands gesproken, maar jij woont in een Spaans sprekende land. Entonces, tengo que preguntarte, ¿también hablas español? Y si lo hablas, ¿cómo lo has aprendido?
Sí, hablo español. Hace 5 años, cuando vive en Barcelona, he aprendido un poco y cuando llegué en Valencia, estoy aprendiendo todos los días, ¿no? En la calle, con la gente, con mis amigos. Y así también he empezado a hacer unos eventos en español.
Muy bien.
Estoy aprendiendo, sí, no es como en inglés o holandés, pero estoy mejorando.
You know, in the Netherlands, you get by perfectly fine with just English because the English level is so high in the Netherlands. But here in Spain, like, how does that work? Can you get by with English, or?
I think you can. It depends a little bit on your lifestyle, what you do. When I started off, I did all my events in English or times in Dutch for Dutch groups.
Yeah.
So to then speak Spanish, you have to actually put in the effort. Meet people from Spain or Latin America. So it doesn't go automatic. You have to put in a little bit of effort because in the end, if you surround yourself with international people, you could easily get by with English. There's actually a lot of Dutch people, so.
Actually, I wanted to ask about that too. Like, do you have a lot of Dutch friends out here? Do you find yourself speaking Dutch often out here?
So actually, yeah. I in general, I don't look for the Dutch people, but there's actually.
You guys find each other.
Yeah.
When you're abroad. You guys find a way.
And there's actually recently, since last September, I've been playing football in the Dutch football team. So the league is not Dutch. It's organized by some English guys, and it's actually quite international.
Yeah.
But our team is only Dutch people, and we're like 18 guys playing football with just Dutch people with an orange shirt, you know. So it's very easy to sort of be sucked into your own culture and then hang out with Dutch people.
So even when you guys leave the Netherlands, you guys are still finding the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It was now getting towards the evening, and we headed to the location where Tristan hosts his wine tasting events. And here he gave me more context on how he got started and what the event's about.
Okay, so you talked to me a little bit already about your wine tasting business, so I'm actually curious to learn a little bit more about that. And obviously, I experienced the event myself, but I'm curious for people that never experienced, like, how would you describe what the event is?
So I already said a little bit, but I have history in hospitality. So I worked in restaurants, and I came here to Valencia without really a plan, right? I just wanted to get out of the Netherlands, a bit better weather, wanted to improve my Spanish. And then I didn't have much to do here, so I started off just hosting some wine events. My original idea was actually just buy some bottles and do wine tastings at people's houses, bring the bottles, do a little tasting within their house, you know, however many people they feel comfortable with. With COVID, obviously, these were things you had to consider. And so I started promoting that a little bit on some Facebook groups, and I got contacted by some people. One of them was someone with a co-living space, and he's like, oh, we do cooking classes. Do you want to do a wine tasting here? And that's where I did my first wine tasting for 5 people. I just promoted it online, again, Facebook groups. And then 2 weeks later, someone else had a guest house and wanted to do a wine tasting there. So I did a tasting there for 10 people. The week after that, we did another one for 19 people. And that's sort of how it got more and more popular. And
It's like rolling, spread,
And the funny thing was, this is also when, you know, the restrictions started to loosen a little. So after like 4 or 5 months of doing this, everything reopened. It was summer. And I considered maybe going back to the Netherlands. But at some point, the tastings were going really well. And I decided, why not give this a real shot, you know? So I started taking it more seriously, building a website and that kind of stuff. And that's sort of how it started. And so what I do now is I do at least once a week, I do an open events, weekends. Now I do mostly Saturdays, but sometimes depends a little on the venue. I do Fridays too. And then private events on request. I always try to gather different wines. So I change them regularly from smaller producers. I mentioned this before as well, but really important, smaller, cool producers that, in my opinion, just produce interesting wine. You know, not the standard style you find everywhere, but some interesting things from smaller producers.
So, I mean, for example, I see we have a map here on the table. Yeah, what exactly is going to take place later on?
So people come in. We started with a glass of bubbles, more as an aperitif to welcome people. And afterwards, usually this, for the open events, I do 5 wines, 5 Spanish wines. Usually I do 3 whites, 2 reds. Sometimes I use an orange wine or a rosé in between. And then we just go through every wine one by one. The maps are there to find, this shows all the different DOs, Denominación de Origen, so the recognized wine regions.
Okay.
And then towards the end, we make some snacks as well. So I always have someone helping me in the kitchen, preparing the snacks while we do the tasting, and then towards the end, we serve those snacks.
I found it quite impressive how Tristan turned what was supposed to be a temporary event into a full-on wine tasting business. And since he was hosting the event later this day, it was time for me to get in my last questions.
Now, Tristan, if I think about, you know, what we talked about today and just kind of see your life here, I mean, you got your business going, you made your friends out here, you're learning the language, you got this awesome balcony out here. It seems like you really made a nice life for yourself out here. So for me, the question that comes to mind is, do you miss the Netherlands?
Not really, no. Family and friends sometimes, obviously, that's part of it, but the Netherlands itself, not really. I think one of the main things for Dutch people, what we love about Spain, of course, is the weather. I think Dutch people are always looking for, you know, less rain, more sun. And you can definitely find that here. And food-wise, it's also not something I'd miss. Besides that, I think maybe it's also a bit of a Dutch thing, but I enjoy being somewhere else. I enjoy being in a different climate, different culture, learning another language. I think it's interesting. And then the Netherlands, you know everything. I think the countryside is a little bit boring. I think as a foreigner, maybe you can tell me that, but as a foreigner, it's different, it's nice, but it's just flat, it's green, there's cows. And then you go here or other places around the world and it's mountains, and it's just, I think you're always looking for something you don't have at home.
Yeah.
That's why I love traveling, and I love also living in another country.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely resonate with that. I mean, for me as a foreigner in the Netherlands, like everything is new and interesting for me. So for me, it's fun and it's nice, but I could imagine for you, wanting to escape that and you find something new and interesting. And I mean, I can't lie to you, being in Spain, like this weather's amazing, and seeing mountains reminds me of California, reminds me of my home and everything. So I do see like the pros of being here in Spain for sure.
And I'm really happy here in Valencia.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you say you didn't miss the Netherlands, but I did have to bring something from the Netherlands for you,
got
though.
me licorice?
I had to bring. I did think about that. I did think about some drops. But
snow
snow weet je? Yeah. That is
That's actually something I really like.
Yeah, you missed
so
them?
you did a good job.
Dankjewel, man. Dankjewel.
Maybe if there's one thing, I really like snow-wafels.
Snow-wafels. Okay. Now, fijn om te horen. Fijn om te horen.
Thanks.
Now, last thing I just want to ask you though is I'm just curious. Like, I mean, we talked a bit about your journey up to this point and everything, and like what's going on right now. What does the future have in store for you? Would you say?
So people often ask me like, do you want to stay in Valencia? I mean, I'm always open to new things. I don't think I will ever move back to the Netherlands. You never know. I'm not gonna say definitely not, but I would be up for moving somewhere else. But on the other hand, also I'm really happy here, and I build up a life for myself, as you said. Yeah. So it could also stay in Valencia, but I wouldn't rule anything out. Yeah. But I'd be open to go somewhere else, experience somewhere else. Yeah. I don't think it's the Netherlands.
I understand. Well, I'm gonna definitely keep up with you to see, what you got going on.
Yeah, of course. Whenever you're in Valencia, you should for sure let me know.
Definitely. And for those, if you're ever visiting Valencia, I highly recommend doing his wine tasting. It was a really cool event that I just stumbled upon last year, and now I'm here again with him because I just found your story so interesting and what you're doing so interesting. And I mean, anything you want to say to anyone that would be interested in visiting? Yeah, so it's really simple actually. I worked all my life as a sommelier, so I also called my business just Sommelier Tristan. My job and my name. Easy, so whenever you're in Valencia, look me up, send me a message, and come join a wine tasting. Nou, top. Heel erg bedankt voor alles. Ja, graag gedaan. En tot de volgende keer in Valencia of in Nederland. Want jij komt terug voor Koningsdag, toch? Met Koningsdag ben ik in Nederland. Ja, oké. Jij bent hier snel. Dus we zien elkaar weer. Dat is cool. Nou, dankjewel man.